Okay, testing. You hear okay? First of all, I want to apologize. We should have came in on 94 instead. Came off on 163, and there's where the marathon was coming to a close.
I'm not sure all the way up. There.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
There.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Anyway, we should have came out in 94, but 63 was the end of the line for the half marathons. It was just so crowded, so we had to park 10 blocks away. And so, anyway, I'm just happy to be here. I'm sorry, I apologize. Anyway, I don't have long speeches, and I'm reminded that after dinner speaker who gave a talk, he kept talking. People in the rear started to leave. He kept talking. People in the front started to leave, except for one fellow about right here. He leaned over and, "Sir, I'm sure glad you stayed." He looked up and said, "Sir, I'm the next speaker." Anyway, there's no next speaker that I know of, but anyway, I take this as a great privilege to come and share with you some of my life story. Right, this one spot right here. During World War II, there was a big Japanese restaurant right here. So this was part of the Japantown. Chinatown was 4 blocks across the street, catty corner, and then Filipino town was this way. And then so the Asian Americans, they sort of being in one community. And I was born just a block and a half from here, where the Chinese Historical Museum is located. And my dad had 12 children. He came to America in 1909 at the age of 15. The first place he went to in San Francisco was a boat dock. He went to the Presbyterian mission in Chinatown, San Francisco. There they gave him the story of David and Goliath. My dad was only about 5'3". He was impressed with the story of David, so he adopted his American name as David. So everything he did with David, the David Produce Company, every business he went into, he called it David brand. But again, too, he had 12 children. And that 12 children, he was determined that we were going to fit into an American fabric. So he gave us names that could fit in. My biggest brother, James, after James Madison, the 4th president. Then he named me. I was born in 1927. So Thomas Edison was a great hero then. So my name became Thomas. But and so anyway, I have a brother named Paul. You know, Paul, after the young man in New England rode his horse throughout the area 200 years ago, shouting, "The British are coming, the British are coming." Well, Paul. But he didn't give him the middle name of Revere. So he gave him the name Francis, after Francis Scott Key. So that was his idea. Matter of fact, I even have a brother named George, after who George is. And I have a brother named John Philip Sousa. My dad loved marching bands. And then I have even one brother born in the 1930s, Herbert Hoover Hom. So I guess we kind of fit into the fabric of America. We started that way. And at age of 12, on the corner of the 5th and G Street, catty corner, was the old City Hall. And there, my dad pointed out that City Hall building, and he said, America, the kind of people they put in there depend on the kind of people the voters put in there. So that kind of intrigued me. I said, gee, wouldn't that be nice? You got my dad with his broken English, probably like most immigrants felt outside. I thought, gee, it'd be great to be inside looking out. So that stayed with me for many years. But that's another story. But anyways, catty corner from here was a vacant lot, but before it was a vacant lot, that was a poultry shop and also a barbecue place owned by Chinese people that barbecued pigs and so forth. And later, when the war came, the poultry business went out, moved elsewhere, and there were a couple of young Jewish fellas, brothers from Shanghai. The family were let's say, forced to move out of the great movement in Russia at the time, So they bought that, and that became the yard where they sold secondhand items and so forth. But the rest, Chinatown takes in 4 square blocks. And most of the things that we did was the custom that we had. Matter of fact, I didn't speak English until I went to school. I went to school on 12th and E Street, called Lincoln School. And the first day, I somehow or another got hurt in the sand pile. I started crying. As I cried, I didn't stop. The teacher tried to get me to stop until she reached in her apron, picked out a piece of candy and said, "Candy," and I repeated, "Candy." Those were my first English words. So that was English by immersion. That's how most of the kids in Chinatown were raised, English by immersion. And same with the Japanese kid. The Japanese here later, when they removed from the coast here during World War II, it was a bad move, but ironically, it was done through the Act of Congress. And so, anyway, much of this area was vacated, and so this became what you call a Filipino nightclub called Mabuhay. Mabuhay, yeah. And so that was very popular. They opened stores on the side here. And matter of fact, one time when we went on Fifth Avenue there, the Japanese, when they came back, they bought some of the property back, but it was highly elevated cost then because they had to move from the coast here within 2 weeks. Only thing they could carry was their briefcase. And that was the order. They would put in relocation camps. Some refer them as concentration camps. Maybe concentration camp to the degree that each corner of the camp, they had machine guns and so forth as they were still in the camps there. But later, Japanese people, especially Japanese Americans, showed their loyalty to America. They formed their own battalion called the 442nd. Became the most noted, battalion in the history of the United States with their great sacrificing. But anyway, this used to be Japantown.